Welcome to another episode of The Breakdown. There's been no confusion over the fact that the UCP government has made some pretty major changes to how AISH is administered and how people who have disabilities are supported within the province of Alberta. Some of that actually flies contradictory to some of the election promises that they've made. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to speak for what the experiences of people on AISH are, because I'm not on AISH, but we are very fortunate today to be sitting down with somebody who not only is on AISH, but is taking some steps to try to fill some of the gaps that have been left. So we're very, very grateful to be able to welcome Les Landry to the show today. Welcome, Les.
Welcome.
How are you doing, sir?
Good, and a little nervous, but I'm okay.
Oh, I'm not going to grill you too bad. Don't worry about that. So to start with, you are somebody who is on AISH and has been for quite some time, correct?
Yes, I went for a simple hernia operation back in, I believe, 80 in Medicine Hat here, and I was allergic to anesthesia. A number of issues and complications arose from that. My elevated blood pressure went to 270 over 160. I developed epilepsy, and then within a year, I had 3 minor strokes. If there is such thing as a minor stroke, I have no paralysis, but my cognitive is kind of messed up. And it took. I got accepted on AISH. It took about a 2-year battle. It's no picnic being accepted for AISH. It's not like the public perception that you just go in there and fill out an application. It took about 2 years. And numerous doctors' reports, and I got accepted with AISH. I believe it was around December of 2012, right after I got my service dog. And I was doing by. Obviously, it's not winning a lottery like some people think. I mean, I was comfortable. I wasn't rich, but I wasn't doing. I was contented. My needs were looked after. And at times very well looked after. A couple of hiccups, as with age, as what could be expected. By the time 2015 rolled around and Rachel Notley got elected, age was starting to fall behind the cost of living, and it was starting to be a struggle for a lot of us. I was in communication quite a bit with some of the MLAs regarding the service dog issue and the age issue. I was saying how the NDP were given funding to every segment of society except for the people on age, and it wasn't until near the end of their mandate where they decided that they're going to increase age and index it. And I done the math on the increase, and if it was to increase at the rate of inflation, the increase should have been about $147. I think they increased it to around 90 or give or take a few bucks. And what they done is they indexed it to the time they got elected rather than the time of the last increase. But anyways, it was what it was. So we had our increase, and then they indexed it to inflation. Lo and behold, the election came, and UCP got in. And what bothers me is 3 days before the election, the UCP said that they weren't going to touch age, that they were going to leave it indexed. And then I believe the second announcement the UCP done after they killed the carbon tax was they were going to de-index age. And Kenny says, well, I forget what word he used, but it was pretty much token. And when you sit there and think about $30 a month isn't much money, unless you're living in poverty. $30 a month isn't much money if you're making 150 grand a year, or even if you're making $1,000 a week. But when you're already under the poverty line, $30 a month is a lot of money. I mean, in my case, it'd probably be like 3 days worth of meals. And that's just the first year. They said that they were going to de-index it for the next 4 years. So you do the math, and because the increase is compounded, by the fourth year, we're going to be losing about $140 a month. Now we start talking a lot of money. But anyways, you can't fight them. they have majority. They're going to do what they want, regardless of what, you can stomp up and down all you want. Then they're going to do what they're going to do, and they're going to do it without caring. So I adjusted my budget. I planned ahead. I cut back on a lot of my expenses. And then I had a hard time at Christmas time. And I put out on Twitter. I got no idea why I have such strong support on Twitter. I don't know me. I can't. There's no answer to it. And I put out on Twitter about struggling at Christmas time, and I started getting gift cards and e-transfers. Christmas people just wanted to give me stuff, and just simply grateful that these total strangers would reach out and without even knowing me. I guess they liked what I post on Twitter, just kind of support. And I was choked for. That's Christmas, when people, total strangers, reach out and help you. And then COVID came. And by mid-March, my doctor phoned me and wanted me to get tested. He felt that he said I was probably exposed. I don't want to go into the details about that. Somebody came into my house, and I couldn't get tested. But I isolated, and I put it out there that I'm isolating, and basically I'm pretty much starving. Well, I got it back up. Community Social Services, or AISH, announced that they were going to change the issue dates. We used to get paid, and we used to get paid very regularly. There was no problem with the dates we were getting. Since they started days, we used to get paid 4 business days before the end of the month. If it fell on the weekend, we get the Friday before. So then they're going to change the dates, and I thought, well, there you go. Same as de-indexing. We can't fight it. They're going to do what they're going to do, and they don't care what they do. So I changed all my bills. I got a car loan and a number of other bills, my utilities. I made sure that Eric got all my bills after the first of the month. I'd done what was responsible for me to do. The only bill that I couldn't change was my service dog Annie's health insurance policy. And the only way I could change that policy is if I was to rewrite the policy. If I was to rewrite the policy, she would fall under pre-existing conditions. So then I might as well not even have insurance. And how I got around that is I paid an extra month in advance. So I'm always paying a month in advance. And I basically leapfrogged it. That was the only way around it. Now, some people aren't in the position to do that. Like I budget is so tight that when I turn 65 and come off age, that'll be my last car payment. That's how much I have to budget, and that's how much I have to budget for the future. So when people look at me, they feel, well, I'm not that bad off, right? But they don't understand the stresses of managing that and focusing on where am I going to be at 65. So anyways, March 1st came around, and just what they said, that I got the issue date when they said I would get it. And the first fell on the weekend, March 1st. So Monday, I phoned the property manager. I said, "Did you get the rent?" She says, "No." She says, "And by the way, it's a $50 late payment fee." And she says, "I know it's not your fault, but you're responsible for it. You signed the lease." So I'm looking at $50 a month, $600 a year on a budget that's already in poverty and climbing in poverty more every year, or at pretty much the rate we're going every month, because inflation doesn't stop. And so then I contact my AISH worker, and this and then, and we came to. I couldn't get a hold of my worker, so I talked to the supervisor, and she says, because my rent goes directly to the property manager, maybe best if I got the rent to come to me and I pay personally. So I drove to the property manager and I told him what the suggestion is. I want to pay the late payment fee, and so I explained how I'm going to get the rent and pay it to them. And the manager came out and says, "No, you can't do that, Les." She says it's in your lease that the rent's got to come directly from AISH because the owner don't trust people on AISH. The stigma of age once again, right? Like it's a property manager and there's the homeowner. And the homeowner says, the only way I'm going to charge, the only way I'm going to rent it to somebody on age is if I get to rent directly. So there I am looking at $600 a year in late payment fees. It's in my lease. With no way around it. And so then I said to the property manager, I said, there's one way I could do this. The only way I could do this is if you waive the $50 late payment fee. And what I'll do, because I'm on a rent subsidy, and so what I'll do is I'll give you my portion of the rent in advance, so that my rent is always paid on the first of the month. Then when age comes, much the same as I did with Andy's health insurance. Once again, a lot of people aren't in the position to do that. I done it, but it completely tapped me out. I think I had $13 for the rest of the month.
And to be clear, if I can just jump in for a sec, Les, just for some context, when that change was made, one of the things that the Minister of Community and Social Services said at the time was that she had consulted with a few stakeholders in regards to making that change. But the Auditor General's report that just came out this week indicates that the change was made largely only to move a couple $100 million into the next fiscal year so that they could claim they made a bit of a savings there. Does that fit with sort of your understanding of things?
I figured that out in the first 24 hours. As a matter of fact, I figured that out when they made the announcement about a month or a month and a half before. Like, why are they doing this, right? Because she claimed that it's going to be on a more reliable schedule. Well, we were on a reliable schedule before. I mean, 4 business days before the end of the month. Anybody that's been on AISH for 10 minutes knows that, or they could simply find it. All they got to do is go on Facebook. When's AISH coming out, right? Or it'll come out on the 28th this month. So, like, I know it was a farce. I know it was a fallacy. So why are they doing this? Why are they putting 65,000 people in chaos? There had to be another reason. And so then I said, well, okay, the fiscal year, any government fiscal year ends at the end of March. So they took that payment, they took March's or April's issue and took it out of March and put it into April. And so they're going to create chaos for 65,000 people and many people that first off can't advocate for themselves, have no voice, and can't figure it out. And they end up in trouble. They end up with NSF charges. They end up with late payment charges. And for them to do that to people that marginalized in the first place was, come on, really? Well, and what for? What for? You might benefit for 1 year, and even that benefit is only token.
Well, and the Auditor General made it fairly clear in the report that this sort of practice not only destabilized things for a whole lot of people, but it was incredibly disingenuous because it should have never happened that way. So it was, to me, it seems like they were looking for some cheap political points that at best were only temporary, because I think they only got about 6 months out of it before the Auditor General called them out on it.
Well, and because their deficit was higher than they planned, so they wanted to fudge the books. They wanted to give a smokescreen that the deficit wasn't as bad as it was for that first year, and that's what they done. They diverted that expense. So, anyways, they diverted a nickel out of 100 is what they done. What was the percentage of the budget that they But so there it was. And once again, I'd done the same thing. I paid the rent, but I was behind, and I had nothing for the month. And I went on Twitter and I was pretty vocal. And one Sunday morning, I actually tagged the minister, and I said, if you really care, you're going to phone me. And I put my phone number there. And I said, I'll tell you what, if you phone me, I'll be the first one to say that you reached out to me. And if you don't believe my word, contact Rick McIver. And about 3 hours later, my phone rang. It was the minister. And after I picked up my teeth off the floor, her and I had a discussion. And I said, listen, I know this isn't your fault. And it wasn't. Come on, we know that. And so I explained my situation. She told me she would look into it. That was on a Sunday. On the Monday, I phoned her. again, and she mentioned to from now on to text message her because she was in a meeting. And so then next day, on the Tuesday, I text messenger, and I offered her a middle of the road solution to this. As I said to her, once you stood up in the legislature and said you're not changing the dates back, I knew you just painted yourself in a corner. You can never come out of that corner. And when you said that, I said, oh. So I said, you have two major issues right now that have to deal with the late payments on the rent, and people are screaming about bus passes. So this is a middle of the road solution to you, and I don't know why she hasn't picked up on it. First off, the rent comes out. The rent is secondary to the core benefits. So you can leave the core benefits to the date you changed it, so that when you said that you don't have to change the date back, you can leave the core benefit to what it is. You can just use the direct payment on the landlords 4 business days before the end of the month, where it was. Now, the transportation allowance is a supplementary benefit. It's not part of the core benefits. So why don't you change that back? Just the transportation allowance for the people that want it, change it back to 4 business days before the end of the month. And that's going to clear up 2 issues for you: the late payment on the rent and the transportation. That's what people are upset about.
Mm-hmm.
And then you save face. You save political face. They say, yeah, we said that we're not going to change the core benefits back, and you didn't.
And has she taken any action on those suggestions?
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
So there you go. Let's hold on. Let's listen to the stakeholders. That's the principle of that story. Let's listen to the stakeholders, because here's a stakeholder giving you a very viable solution to save your own political base, and like, no, you shouldn't listen to the premier.
And you weren't the only person who was facing these challenges. I mean, it sounds like you were able to weather these challenges a little bit better than a lot of folks on AISH, but you weren't the only person who had to deal with these challenges, right?
Except for uh, back to my support. I mean, I was pretty vocal. I was desperate. I mean, on Twitter. I mean, I had $13 left in my bank, and I had no food. That's how tight the budget is, right? So I started posting pictures of my fridge and say, "Hey, listen, at least I got a warm roof, but I got no idea what I'm going to eat." And some people were giving me donations. And then a lady out of Calgary messaged me and says, "Les, I really want to help you." And she donated a fair sum. And so I made a request to AISH for personal benefit to cover the 285. I said, this isn't my fault, and it shouldn't come out of my pocket. And I called it a rent deposit, much the same as a damage deposit. And anyways, that benefit got denied. And then on the bottom of I appealed a bit on the bottom of the letter. They said that this decision is not appealable because it was made by a representative of the minister. Remember the minister that was going to help me? Because it was made by a representative of the minister. So the appeal board says we can't appeal this. We can't hear it because there was a decision made by the premier or by the minister's office or representative. So that means any decision that AISH makes from now on, and I raised this at the appeal panel, and one would think that a gift is 100% exempted, by the way. That's not, AISH has no say on what the client's going to do with that money. And that's what I was appealing, was the gift. They basically clawed back my gift and told me what I was going to do with it. Then I raised this with the appeal board. I said, if we're going to allow the minister to claw back this gift with nothing I can do about it, we can't say that's a slippery edge of the wedge. So you need to tell me at Christmas time if somebody's mother wants to donate $500 or pass on $500 gift to her grandchildren, AISH can claw that back because it's going to be a decision made by a representative of the minister. because they could put that sentence at the bottom of every decision, and that means that it's not appealable. What do we have an appeal panel for? Why do you bother going through this process with an appeal? Anyways, back to the support. So I started getting all this support, and then the middle of March, COVID hit, and there I am in isolation. And I was, because the first 10 days of March I had no food anyway. So now here I am in isolation with still no food. I got the donation, but I'm not going to give some stranger my bank card. I mean, I'm in isolation. I don't have any family here, and very minimal friends. Anyways, a gentleman and his wife messaged me on Twitter and said, "Les, give us a shopping list." Well, I mean, so like, so I messaged him back. I says, what's the budget? Yeah, like $50 or he says, if you had the money, just tell me what you would buy. So I give him a list. And he says, just make sure that's not a 2020 F100 or Ford One truck, right? And so I give him a list. And so then I took a picture of the Ford, and I says, and this here, great guy. He lived west of Sylvan Lake.
And you live in Medicine Hat.
At that time I lived in Redcliffe, so which is basically Medicine Hat. He lived, and I don't know his name because of my strokes, and I feel really bad. Him and his wife actually cooked some food. They got in their vehicle from, let's call it Sylvan Lake, and you might as well say that's 2.5 hours one way, close to 3 hours one way, or more. They drove to Medicine Hat. They went to Superstore, and they came and they dropped it off on my front step. I couldn't even open the door to thank him, and shake his hand. I wait till they got in their truck and I popped my head out. And they probably spent $500.
Wow.
For a total, and plus the trip here. His wife cooked up 3 meals, like home cooked meals. And I was in tears for somebody, a total stranger, to do that. And then it, because of the isolation, 2 or 3 months later, more modern time, my winter coat wouldn't fit me. I had no winter boots or anything, so I put it out there on Twitter again. Lo and behold, I started getting more donations. Got me a winter coat, got me some winter boots, got some clothes that fit, and what? How do you explain to somebody the charity and the goodness of people that just want to help, that realize that there's some people that are true victims of this government. They're not in agreement with this government. They just want to help. So there I am, and I'm overwhelmed with gratitude. And at the same time, I was feeling guilty. Why am I getting and the next person isn't? What's so special about it? Well, because I posted a picture of my empty fridge. So I started saying, if you're not happy with what this government's doing, seek out somebody on AISH and give them some money. I said, I'm doing okay. So I was already trying to connect people. And then the $600 disability COVID benefit from the federal government. I was eligible for it, and I got it. But I always kept advocating for the people, the 4.5 million Canadians that didn't get it. The federal government made a big issue. They raised it from 1.2 million Canadians to 1.7. And when they changed it to 1.7, I fell into that pigeonhole. And I still advocate for the majority of Canadians with disabilities that didn't get a nickel. And I pointed out, why should my disability be worth more than the person sitting beside me? Because of a piece of paper. Because I happen to be on a disability pension. Federal government knows everybody that has a disability or a life-threatening condition. They know everybody. If they don't, it's not much of a government. So When I got the $600 and I actually posted on Trudeau and the minister's page that this does nothing for me. I already spent it. I caught up on my bills. But I just feel this overwhelmed guilt because I have a serious form of PTSD where I internalize everything. And I just felt this overwhelming sense of guilt, dread, that why should I get it when the next person doesn't? And like, yeah, if that I didn't feel grateful for at all. When the people donated stuff to me, yeah, that was gratitude. But when the government decided to do that, to split the disability community to the haves and the have-nots, something was wrong. And they give the impression to the populace that they're helping Canadians with disabilities. Because who knows, right? The average person sitting in their living room doesn't know. Oh yeah, they're helping people with disabilities. Good for them. What about the majority that they're not helping? They didn't say anything about that. So, anyways, I thought this is bad. Like, now something's wrong here. And one day I'm sitting around and I'm thinking number of things. Why am I getting all this charity from people that I don't even know? Obviously, they care about people. Somebody has to do something. And I've always been a bit of an advocate. My advocacy goes back in the early 90s when I took the Manitoba government to task over their gambling expansion. I've been advocating on service dog issues since I walked into Blake Pearson's office January 9th, 2013. So I've always been a bit of an advocate, and I guess if you're a government, I could be a bit of a turd disturber too. So I thought, here I am posting on Twitter that if you're upset with the government, seek out somebody on AISH and don't, but I mean, for the average person to seek out somebody on AISH, they wouldn't even know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
As much as they want to do it, and maybe that's why I was getting so much support that I was getting. Obviously, people want to do it, but they just didn't know how. And so last Thursday, I don't even know where the thought came from. I posted on Twitter, put a video out there on Twitter that I'm starting a program called People Against Poverty. And what it is I'm seeking out people in poverty, might be on age, might be on disability, might be on income support, might be on whatever. If they're in poverty, I want to talk to you. And then I put out that I'm also looking for sponsors. So I would get somebody, and then, I signed up 3 today. I'm getting ahead of myself, though. People ask me for their emails. That's it. Like, I'm not going to ask what your situation is. Mm-hmm. I don't care. If you're reaching out for help, if you're willing to trust me, that's enough. Because as a person with a disability, and as a person with a disability utilizes a service dog, I know what barriers are. And I want to make this as barrier-free for people with disabilities. And there's trust issues there. Yeah, I had somebody on Facebook today post, if it's too good to be true, chances are it is. So I explained to him, okay, I can understand trust. And if you watch it down the road, as a matter of fact, if you're on Twitter, go to Twitter and look up hashtag People Against Poverty and see what we're doing. Anyways, I signed up, I don't know, 2 or 3 people from Facebook today. From Thursday, I've signed up close to 80 people.
So that's, to be clear, you're not collecting any money or any stuff yourself. All that you're doing is you're providing the introduction between somebody who needs assistance because the system has failed them and somebody who maybe has the means to provide some of that assistance. Is that a sort of a correct summation of what it is that your program is?
Basically, I'm seeking out people that need help. And obviously, there's people there that are willing to help. They helped me. I was a total stranger. They drive across the province to come and help me. Obviously, people want to help. Obviously, people know what this government's doing. Obviously, people aren't happy with what this government's doing. So basically, I just introduce people. I don't get a nickel out of this. I don't get nothing out of this gig. And people say to me, "Well, Les, why are you doing this?" Remember when I said I have a serious form PTSD?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've said this before. As a matter of fact, I got it on YouTube. I cannot remember the last time I went through the day without the thought of suicide. Not that I would do it, but and then things started escalating. I mean, um, changing the red dates in March. Is they're going to help me, then losing the appeal. Then why is it? Why is that? Why am I getting $600 and the other person isn't? Like, things just start compounding. So what do I get out of this? What do I get out of introducing A to B so that somebody can get a C cash? What I get, you can't buy. Because since last Thursday, I'll tell you, I haven't had the thought of suicide. Now you talk to anybody with PTSD, and you can't buy that.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot buy that. I mean, and even my psychologist says, "Les, you're a different person. I can smile, I can laugh." Yeah, I mean, and sometimes my life is chaotic here behind my desk, and I love it. I don't like why I have to do it. It upsets me that I have to do it. There's no justification as to why I have to do it. And that really pees me off.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm happy to have the ability to be able to do it, to be able to connect people that need help, to people that care.
So, with that in mind, just because I don't want to miss this, if someone is listening to this or watching this, because we're going to put it up both audio and video, how if somebody wants to help, or if somebody needs to be put on the list of people who need help, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Well, I have no website. I mean, I'm just, I mean, I'm just some guy sitting behind his desk. And I have no website. I mean, we're like 7 days old. As a matter of fact, in the first 24 hours, I signed up over 60 people, and I'm going like, wow. Um, so the best way to get a hold of me, actually, the best way to get a hold of me right now is on Twitter. That's where most of the support is. But I have gotten some messages on Facebook, which is difficult because if you're not friends on Facebook, it's really hard to message somebody there.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people on Facebook aren't on Twitter. So I mean, it's my email is les_Landry @yahoo.com. It's basically my name with an underscore, and that might be the best way for people that to get out there.
Okay.
And pretty much, uh, when I say barrier free, um, there is some, I don't know if there are rules. It's just basically an agreement. First off, you need your email address, and some people don't want to give that. I understand that. I can reassure people right now. You give me any information you give me is totally confidential. I write nothing down. So I need your email address. I need verification that your bank is set up for e-transfers, and I want your word that you're never going to disclose who your sponsor is. If not willing to do that, then I I am never going to put our sponsors at risk. Never do that. And I've had a couple of sponsors say, "Listen, I've done this before, and I've had all kinds of people hound me, and I give them my word." As a matter of fact, I'm starting to get all kinds of gratitude messages, and there was one I believe last night, and it literally brought me to tears. She thanked me because she could now give milk to her children. Milk, milk. I mean, like Really. How many people in Alberta right now does not have milk in their fridge? And this woman, you could just feel her emotion in her message. Milk in her fridge. Milk for her children. So while we have a government that's filling people's portfolios, they're doing it at the expense of the child's glass of milk. And that is sickening. There's some members of the UCP that were previous PC and some of them wild rose that I did consider friends. And for them to do what they did and what they continue to do, no. Something's wrong here. When you start going to church on Sunday and stealing children's milk on Monday, we have a problem. There's no reason why I should have to do what I'm doing. People have no idea how bad it is out here. And for them to justify that, oh, well, we can't afford these benefits. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, we can't afford to charter a plane to fly out to people's premiers around either. We can't afford a war room that's doing nothing but collecting information on the citizens it's to serve. We can't afford all these so-called issues managers. What do? They're paid trolls. They're paid trolls to tell me to manage my affairs. How can I manage my affairs when I got them dictating on what? I mean, we don't know what's going to happen month to month. I'm selling off equipment, selling off property, assets to put money away because I don't know what's going to happen in 3 months. Yeah, manage my affairs. Pretty hard to manage when you have other people controlling them. A glass of milk, and I'm going to use that glass of milk because people have no idea how bad it is out here.
Mm-hmm.
How many people in Alberta go to their fridge right now and see if they got milk in their fridge? Or more important, see if they got milk in the fridge for their children. I posted pictures of my fridge several times, and not once has there been milk in my fridge. And so when she said that to me, it hit me. She could have said grapes, she could have said strawberries, she could have said ice cream. But when she said milk, that's when it hit me. Because I cannot remember the last time I had milk in my fridge. I have no children. So while they're filling portfolios, you're stealing it out of children's glasses. Think about that one the next time you want.
So just to reiterate, if people want to support the work that you're doing as a sponsor, the email is les_Landry@yahoo.com.
Yep.
I think you're the only person that I've met in recent history who still has a Yahoo address. I didn't even know those were still a thing.
Oh, hold on. Yahoo address with their name.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, you can still get it. You can still get a Yahoo ad. You still get a Yahoo email, but try and get your name.
no doubt. That takes me back to like the days of MSN Messenger. And if people want to reach out to you on Twitter, what's your Twitter handle again?
At Landry, Landry, capital L, less capital L, ES.
Okay, perfect.
And I really want to stress this. I'm not making a nickel out of this gig. That's not what this is about.
Well, there's no money changing hands through what you're doing. You're just making the introductions and letting people support as they can or as they see fit.
I'm introducing A to B so that they can get some C. And I like to say this: it's one person helping one person that helps the community. Because while these governments can try and bail out these small businesses, and by all means, I'm grateful for that. If they don't have anybody coming in that front door to support them, the benefit package to bail them out is worthless. They need people to come in the door. And what I'm basically doing is I'm getting money from the sponsors to get to the sponsor that's going to spend it in the community. So it's one person helping one person that's going to help the community. And that's the thing that motivates me.
Well, I want to thank you for the work that you're doing, Les. And I also want to just I'm a big believer that Albertans, and one of the things that makes Albertans unique is the fact that we do stick up for each other, and we do try to take care of each other. I always use the examples of the floods in Calgary as an example of that, and I use the Fort Mac fires as an example of that. And to see that you're continuing on that spirit and connecting people who also want to continue on that spirit despite the decisions that this government is making, that that warms the black thing where my heart normally lives. So I appreciate that.
Can I raise? I know you were stuck for time. Can I raise one very important question? One very important point.
Absolutely.
We're not just in Alberta. We're not even national. My first connection was in Alberta, and it was actually that woman that bought me groceries, and she says, "Let's want to reach out." And so I connected her. That was the first connection. The second connection was a lady in Alberta that's helping somebody in Ontario. And then I don't know, maybe the 14th or 15th connection, it was somebody in California, in LA, that's helping somebody in Saskatchewan. So not only, like it's, and this actually that happened within the first 24 hours.
Wow.
And then I'm sitting there thinking, what have I started here? And I don't want it to turn into some big bureaucracy. There's going to be barriers. There's going to be requirements. No, I want it to stay the way it is. One person helping one person to help the community, regardless of where they are and regardless of who they are. Let's keep it as simple as it can be, because I want to show the government how simple it can be.
I cannot think of a better point to end on there. So thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us, Les. And thank you so much for the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you for having me.
Now, this would normally be the part of our show where we plug our Patreon account and we kind of wrap things up. But we're not going to do that for this episode. Instead, what we'd like to do for this episode's wrap up is just ask you, our audience, to try to find some way over the next few weeks and months to support an Albertan in need. The reality is that 2020 has been a brutal year for a lot of people. We've seen disasters, we've seen COVID, we've seen the economic downturn, and we've seen a lot of the decisions that this government, the current government, is making. And there's a lot of Albertans that are hurting right now. So if you can find a way, whether it's through supporting the stuff that Les is doing, whether it's through supporting a charity that you've already built a relationship with, whether it's a gift of money or a gift of time, find some way to help out another Albertan over the next couple of weeks. Because with the holiday season coming up, it's just going to be getting harder and more stressful for a lot of people. Thank you. That's our show.